Good morning, DFS fans. My name is Benny Ricciardi. I go by BRich11 on all the daily fantasy sites, and I'm here to walk you through our new quick hit segment for rotocurve.com, going over some of the best hitters for you to target on today, Monday, June 29th. The first game I want to go over is the Phillies game against Milwaukee Brewers. You have Sean O'Sullivan on the mound for the Phillies. He's given up a .350 batting average to left-handed batters with 10 home runs and 23 innings pitched. There are 3 left-handed bats on the Brewers that I think we should be targeting against O'Sullivan today. The first one and the best option is first baseman Adam Lind. He's hitting .300 with 11 home runs and 207 at-bats so far this year against right-handed pitching. So he's the most likely guy to have a big game today against O'Sullivan. 2 other guys that you can look at in this one are Gerardo Parra. He's been leading off lately for Milwaukee, hitting a lot of doubles, getting on base, scoring a lot of runs at the top of that offense. And the third guy that you can look at, if you're looking for a cheap flyer at second base, you can go with a guy like Scooter Gennett. Gennett does have some pop, and he's also very good against right-handed pitching. So those would be the 3 guys in that game that we would look to target. Moving on from there, we have David Hale pitching for Colorado. He's going up against Oakland today. Hale has allowed a .309 batting average to left-handed batters and a whip of 1.47 with 5 home runs and 16 innings pitched. Therefore, you want to look at the left-handed bats on Oakland today. The top option is probably Stephen Vogt at the catcher position. He's catcher eligible. He's hitting .291 against right-handed pitching, has 12 home runs and 7 doubles already and 175 at-bats. The other guy who makes a lot of sense is Josh Reddick. Reddick has a .327 batting average so far this year against weak right-handed pitching. He's got 9 home runs and 11 doubles and 200 at-bats as well. If you're looking for a value option in this game, you also have Eric Sogard. Sogard is the second baseman for the Athletics, and lately he's been hitting in the 2 spot in that order. So those are the 3 left-handed bats I think you can use to go after Hale. Next game we want to talk about is with Mike Pelfrey on the mound. Pelfrey is a guy who's had reverse splits for about the last 3 years if you look at his numbers. That means to me that a guy like Todd Frazier should be in play today. Frazier's a right-handed bat going up against the righty in Pelfrey. He does have those reverse splits that we talked about, but he's hitting .292 against right-handers so far this year with 16 home runs and 15 doubles and 212 at-bats. So Frazier is definitely a guy who is no longer cheap, but should give you some good upside in this matchup today. The next guy that we want to target against is Bud Norris. Norris is going up against that Texas Rangers offense. He has a .320 batting average and a 1.89 whip against left-handed bats. The 2 left-handed bats that I think you want to use most to target against him is going to be Rougned Odor on top of that order. Odor is a middle infielder, got called up a couple weeks ago, and has done nothing but hit since he has been called up. He's 10 of his last 29, has been getting on base and scoring a lot of runs. With Odor getting on base, you also want to target some of the guys that are going to drive him in. And the one guy who's in the best spot to drive him in today is going to be Prince Fielder. Fielder is hitting close to .370 against weak right-handed pitching, and he should have a good matchup here today against Bud Norris. Moving on from there, the next guy we want to target against is Bolsinger from the LA Dodgers. Bolsinger has given up a .337 last year to left-handed bats, and so far this year he's given up a .282 batting average. Therefore, on Arizona, you want to look at guys like a Jake Lamb or a David Peralta. Lamb is hitting about .284 against right-handed pitching. Peralta is hitting about .280 with 6 home runs and 165 at-bats. So both of those guys seem to be in play today against a pretty weak pitcher down there in Bolsinger, especially with the park bump that they're getting playing at home in Arizona as opposed to playing Bolsinger over in Dodger Stadium. The next guy that we want to target against is R.A. Dickey. Now, with R.A. Dickey, you don't really look at the splits numbers. You look more – this is one of those few guys that BVP has, a big situation that plays into who you want to pick against him. Being that Dickey has been pitching in the American League East for a while, he does have a couple games where he has gone up against that Red Sox offense already, and there's a few guys on the Red Sox who stand out as having good numbers against him. Xander Bogaerts is hitting 8 of 20 against him lifetime for a .400 batting average. He has a .900 on-base plus slugging percentage as well against Dickey. So if Bogaerts is still hitting in the 3-hole for the Red Sox offense today, he's definitely somebody who you should take a look at. Mike Napoli is 7 of 22 lifetime with a .969 on-base plus slugging percentage against Dickey as well. So the first baseman is another guy who sees the ball well against Dickey and has done a good job hitting the knuckleball. Hanley Ramirez is another guy who's done well hitting the knuckleball. He has seen Dickey in the National League when he was on the Marlins. He's seen him when he was on the Dodgers, and he sees him a couple times this season now that he's on the Red Sox. Hanley is 9 of 30 lifetime with 1 home run and 3 doubles against R.A. Dickey. So he's another guy who has seen some, has seen him quite a few times and has had some pretty decent success. The main guy that you want to target today for the Red Sox, though, is David Ortiz. Ortiz is 9 of 25 lifetime with 3 home runs and a 1.248 on-base plus slugging percentage against R.A. Dickey. So the elite matchup on the day for the Red Sox is definitely David Ortiz against R.A. Dickey. And since this game is being played up in the Rogers Center, you know that anybody who gets a hold of one of those has a good chance to hit a home run. So therefore, I think David Ortiz is definitely somebody who should be on your radar today. Mike Leake has been a guy who struggled with left-handed bats since he's going up against the Minnesota Twins today. Leake has allowed 10 home runs in 54 innings so far this year to left-handed bats. And last year, he allowed 10 home runs in 89 innings with a 290 batting average. So the only 2 left-handed bats on Minnesota that you really can target, the rookie Eddie Rosario is pretty cheap all over, and he should be hitting in the 2-hole again today. If he's up there towards the top of the order, he's definitely somebody you should consider and take a look at. The other left-handed bat they have who should be in a good spot today is Joe Mauer. Mauer's more of a cash game play for me. He doesn't really have the home run upside or the big game upside that you want out of somebody who you take at first base. But in a good matchup like this, he's definitely somebody who's in line to get a couple hits and maybe drive in a couple runs and put up a solid fantasy performance for you. If you can find Mauer cheap somewhere, I definitely think he's a good play. But again, at a first base position where you're usually looking for power, Mauer's not really a home run hitting kind of guy. Excuse me. The next guy we want to target against is CC Sabathia. Sabathia really has been struggling with right-handed bats this year. He's given up a 339 batting average and 16 home runs in 65 innings with a 1.69 whip. So against the LA Angels, you got to look at a guy like Mike Trout, who has a 309 batting average against left-handed pitching. He's got a couple home runs as well to go along with it. You also might want to think about a guy like Albert Pujols, who's been really hot lately. Pujols has actually been hitting better against right-handed pitching, but it's not like he struggles against lefties. He's still a well above average hitter against them as well. And the way CC Sabathia has been pitching this year, he has been prone to blowups. Other guys like Ibar, if he's hitting up top of the order, are also kind of interesting. But for the most part, Trout is the main target that I think you should be looking at in this game. The last guy I wanted to mention is C.J. Wilson. C.J. Wilson is going up against the Yankees. C.J. Wilson last year allowed a 277 batting average to right-handed batters with 15 home runs in 128 innings pitched. He gave up 67 earned runs as well. So basically, if you're a right-handed batter, you should be in a good spot against C.J. Wilson today. The 2 guys that we're going to target are Alex Rodriguez, who has been hitting pretty well and finds himself in the 3-hole for the Yankees right now. And the main target, and a guy who we're going to talk about later in the value section, is Chris Young. Chris Young is hitting 388 so far this year with 5 home runs and 67 at-bats against left-handed pitching. So in this matchup against a guy like Wilson, who struggles a little bit with right-handed bats, I definitely think Chris Young is somebody that you want to look for. So that's going to wrap it up today for our quick hit section. We're going to be coming to you now every day with our quick hit section, breaking down some of the guys who we consider to be people we should be targeting against and some of the bats that make the most sense to target against them. We tried to keep it short and sweet for you guys. This way you have a chance to watch the whole video and use it to help you build your lineups. So good luck today. And as always, stay classy, DFS.